Welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall, a series of conversations that we do across the country, talking about the issues that matter the most to you, the entrepreneur, and connecting face to face directly with you, giving you the opportunity to be front and center with India's biggest experts and to voice your opinion. Tonight, we're kicking it off with Mumbai, and we have two very special guests who kick the evening off for us and really set the tone and set the context of what we're trying to achieve through these town hall conversations. Our first very special guest that night was Madhivanan Balakrishnan, the CEO of IDFC First Bank. He spoke to us about why he's a firm believer that the future for India is bright, his wish list for small businesses, as well as what he feels has been the movement of Mumbai from a financial to a startup hub. Leaders of Tomorrow, in its 10th and landmark season, has kicked off its first town hall in Mumbai, the financial capital of India. We will be traveling to 12 cities across the country to ensure that every entrepreneur in every part of India gets a platform to connect with the country's biggest experts as they help them decode opportunities to grow. Could I call up on stage Mr. Madhivanan, Chief Operating Officer of IDFC First Bank? He's going to be talking about the digital revolution and setting the stage for our conversation as far as maximum city, maximum wealth, and a spotlight on Mumbai.
Thank you so much, and a very, very warm good evening to each and every one of you from the IDFC First Bank fraternity. It is indeed a pleasure to be associated with Leaders of Tomorrow. We have been having quite a strong relationship as we walk together with ET in this journey of progress. But I thought that as we speak about the leaders of tomorrow, as what is it that is going to give India its true place in the sun, we wanted to focus on what could be a very unique advantage for all of us, for being at the right time, at the right place. But today, we are at a very unique cusp. We are looking at an opportunity which digital is driving for us. And we are looking at it from a bank's perspective, from a financial services perspective, and what is it that we could do as a very important element in the catalyst, as a catalyst for the economy, for our entrepreneurs, for the new generation startups to take advantage of that as we go along, and thereby emerge as the leaders of tomorrow. Poster boys of today is the startup world. The recent economic survey indicates that we are the third largest ecosystem for the startup story as we are evolving. Look at the number of unicorns that is already happening. I mean, just before we got on the meeting, we were having a side chat of how the markets have dramatically changed over the last 20 years, the way the risk profile of the people have involved. But what is more exciting, and we as bankers are getting a ringside view of that entire journey, is the number of people, youngsters, who are riding on this technological wave and actually building capabilities that could dramatically change the way we operate and actually bring about a much more greater involvement as we go along. If you have to look at the digitally native and the classical bricks and economy, Mumbai is still stuck in that world. We are not yet up there. Bangalore has taken over that cake. And is there any way how this ecosystem, which has been the Mumbai ecosystem, which has been a nourishing sort of a crucible for entrepreneurship at its base level, which has generated billionaires, what is it that we need to do as we progress along and take advantage of this emerging situation is something which we would want to look forward to. The actual foundation is the 6.5 crores of MSMEs, the SMEs who are building up, who are at the foundational level of our economy, contributing to almost 40% of exports, generating a huge amount of millions of jobs, which today, where an unseen majority, given the digital ecosystem and environment, are suddenly finding a feed. And what is it that is driving this entire story as we go along? It's again, in my mind, the digital ecosystem. It's no more the classical physical distribution for the distribution team or the trades and services, which is sacrosanct, but the ability to ride on to this digital economic landscape that is jumping in is the best possible way. And why is that happening? In today's world, while the startup is trying to build those ecosystems and the rails of maximizing it, our ability to make the MSMEs connect with these digital entrepreneurs is, I think, the secret of the success. if we could try and find a mechanism by which people can work in cohesion and not in just two isolated worlds, but actually coming together and making it a reality, it would be a big deal. We genuinely believe that the government of India has been a very mega pioneer in this entire process. If you have to look at two big initiatives, and this is coming out of a report that they just published around a few days back, which they call as a $1 trillion digital opportunity alone. We are not even talking about the traditional brick and mortar world. We are talking about the new businesses that will get sort of open up in the next 3 to 5 years. We are talking about the 2025 scenario where government is in a position to create a very unique ecosystem. We all spoke about the Jan Dhan Man model, wherein we are able to bring in the connectivity through the biometric Aadhaar, the ability to link it back to the banking accounts, and it has a lot of bearing in the way banks look at funding as we go forward. We all know about the retail story, but that's not the story that has played out in the MSME segment, and that's bearing fruit. The e-government transactions, whether it be the e-marketplace, GEMS, the GST data that is throwing in, very unique content which bankers today, unlike the traditional mechanism where you would want to underwrite a loan or you're looking at a very, very cash flow driven kind of model as we go along. Business has been also dramatically supporting it. Look at the number of smartphones that are going up, the bandwidth connections that people are able to, ability to reimagine journeys, ability to reimagine the value of data are all very, very unique. And we believe this combination of government and business coming together to creating a ground rails on which economy can drive is very, very unique. And this is just an example of how, again, we bankers, compared to the typical underwriting norms that we would do, is suddenly changed in our mind. On one hand, we have Aadhaar, which ensures that are you giving it to the right person. This is not a time-tested model where the retail industry, whether I'm giving a personal loan or a home loan or a credit card, has been established so beautifully. The economics, the unit economics is very different. But it has not yet found its way into the MSME world, which is where the cash flow lending story plays out. So whether it be a bureau, ability to access tax records through a very simple API world is out there. The India Stack, the digital locker, which is actually making us very paperless. We as a bank almost do 70 to 75% of our retail lending purely without any paper based. It's purely digital, and how are we able to maximize it? Some of them on our own, some of them through the digital ecosystem that we are latching onto. And on the other side, as we speak, yesterday RBI came out with the digital banking unit concept, which actually sort of in a way supports the Banking Regulation Act of going beyond banking and supporting it through a lot more digital interfaces. I mean, the concept of a branch is no more, it's much more an assisting unit. So all these stuff is working to create a very conducive environment as we progress. Just a very quick example, I just wanted to give it as an illustration, slightly complicated slide. We all spoke about how we all are aware about what a Flipkart or an Amazon has done by creating a platform and enabling a multiple MSMEs to come together and sell on them, sell their products, sell their services. But as we speak, 20 different banks have come together to build what we call as a OCEN network. The one is the Open Credit Enabling Network, which will enable us to take care of this data and dramatically help the MSMEs and the startups in the journey. But a bigger one is there a probability of creating a much more open source environment for e-commerce, which is the Open Digital Commerce Network, which will actually try to make, like the way UPI, the payment interface which we created, which has sort of democratized payments and brought everybody onto the fold, which saw a huge jump. This ability to virtually create an ONDC network, as we call it, which will enable each of our MSMEs to directly access into an open network to sell their wares without actually coming under the burden of a platform, the rules and regulations, the restrictions. And this in its very early stages. There are banks which are trying to come together to create a comprehensive non-governmental an NGO kind of an organization which effectively drives value and creates a very, very open network. Funding, like I told you, is very difficult for the MSME sector, but if some of these ecosystem play that we spoke about becomes a reality and you get into the digital footprint as much as you can, you are effectively creating a lot of information that will enable bankers to relook at it. And that is something which we are at the forefront of. The kind of revolution that we have created in the retail, we do almost 4.5 to 5 lakh loans a month, predominantly digitally. Our aspiration is to convert that even to the MSME world and create a very, very unique model as we go along.
Time for a quick break on this edition of the Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall in Mumbai. Back in just a moment. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall. Tonight, we're bringing you highlights of our Mumbai edition. Our chief guest for the evening was none other than the Minister of State for Cooperation, Consumer Affairs and Agriculture, Shri Vishwajeet Kadam. He joined us to talk about why he feels that platforms like the Leaders of Tomorrow are so crucial when it comes to small businesses, his views and his advice for entrepreneurs associated with the agri space, and also what he feels the way ahead is going to be like for India's small businesses. Listen in. You are a young minister overlooking so many different and diverse portfolios. If you were to wear a hat like an entrepreneur and talk about how you really prepare for the different ministries that you handle, what would you perhaps like to say?
I remember the moment when the officials of the Times ET group came across to my office and requested me if I could be a part of the discussions here today evening. And I was pleasantly surprised and shocked because the portfolios I currently hold, which is agriculture, cooperatives, food and civil supply, social justice, and minorities. None of these portfolios actually connect with the topic of our discussion here today. But I guess there was a point where they wanted to know what the state government currently is doing or would like to do in terms of promoting and encouraging entrepreneurs in the state of Maharashtra. My father was a first generation entrepreneur. I believe so because he grew in a small village in Sangli district and came to the city of Pune and established an educational institution where today we have almost 250 schools and colleges all across India, in the Middle East and the South African continent as well. So I think he was a first generation entrepreneur. Me, I'm a son of an entrepreneur. But having said this, I'm also a first political entrepreneur. What I mean by this is I contested my first elections in the Maharashtra Assembly. Thankfully, with the blessings of my people, I got elected. And again, immediately, with God's grace, I have become a minister in the government of Maharashtra, which is also the first time. So you might call me as a political entrepreneur, as being an MLA and minister in the government of Maharashtra. So I think India is changing at such a fast pace, especially in the last 20 years or so. I would probably say that since the year 1999 to 2000, our country, our economy, and the entrepreneurship skills have just grown tenfold. And in the last 20 years, we have successfully created huge success stories in entrepreneurs. And we have managed to do that, especially on platforms like ET also, because I remember you guys taking initiative, giving awards to young entrepreneurs and them making it big in the last few years in various sectors and fields that most traditional business houses or industries were not even aware of. So I feel the government of Maharashtra is also playing an important role in that. And we are now in the process of Maharashtra being one of the top leading states in our country, of giving a whole lot of opportunities in the city of Mumbai by creating various industrial zones, giving out schemes. All of these schemes are obviously now on the public domain of websites where it is easily accessible for entrepreneurs who do want to take opportunities of these schemes. But I think in the last 20 years, also Maharashtra government has evolved, is the word I would use, in creating opportunity. We hope with your suggestions and your thoughts, we can continue to do so.
Sure. Can I ask you one or two questions, if you're not in too much of a hurry? And I do want to talk about one theme that we've heard on the Leaders of Tomorrow panel discussion, the session that was just before yours, and I know you were listening into this panel, and that was the theme of digital, the revolution that's being created in the country. The power of digital to change businesses. I would love to hear your thoughts on that and how really it's happening both at the grassroots, but also entrepreneurs like the ones we are on the panel are using it to innovate and bring in really that big change and disruption.
Like I mentioned before, in the last 20 years, one of the biggest or topmost revolutions that we have discovered in entrepreneurship is more of the technology sector, the IT sector, and Bangalore obviously being the hub of it, followed by Delhi, Noida, and then I think Pune as a city has come in third in the recent years for entrepreneurs hub. And we've seen a huge transformation, especially in the last 10 years. If you see the success stories of the last 10 to 15 years of entrepreneurs who have really gone on, whether it's on public domain of creating IPOs, their success stories are connected vastly on the ideas which were connected digitally or with their IT technology, and they have grown drastically. So I just feel that the technology-driven entrepreneurship is the need of the hour, and I think we've heard it from the best of experts. And I think I just feel that most of the young entrepreneurs should focus on that and how they can appeal to the market or their customer needs and focus on that.
One of the portfolios that you hold is that of agri, and we were discussing the geopolitical challenges that are happening right now, whether what is happening in Russia, Ukraine, or Sri Lanka as well, and the impact it is having on entrepreneurs here in the country. The RBI governor also alluding to that when announcing, during the monetary policy committee announcement, talking about inflation. My question is, for an entrepreneur who's in the agri space, your advice about overcoming perhaps some of the short-term as well as maybe the long-term challenges, what would you like to say?
Well, I mean, what's happening in Europe, especially with the Russian-Ukraine war, is going to eventually have an impact on global economy as well as slightly on Indian economy as well. You can see what's happening in a neighboring country in Sri Lanka in the last few weeks. They're in economic turmoil. I feel agriculturally speaking, I see a lot of entrepreneurs in the agricultural sector these days who are into organic farming, into hydroponics, and there's a huge opportunity and scope in that. But yes, to be an entrepreneur in agriculture sector, one needs patience. And I think that is something that is unfortunately lacking in entrepreneur aspirants in these days. So having said that, India is on a stable front, so is the government of Maharashtra. Though what's happening, we don't see any current crisis or any problems facing right now. But I'm sure that if at all there is an issue, the Indian government and Maharashtra government is capable of handling and tackling it for sure.
Fantastic. Just one last word from you before we let you go. The theme that we're discussing today is what makes Mumbai and Maharashtra by extension a great place to do business. What do you want to leave our entrepreneurs with about why you feel this is the best place to be?
Well, Mumbai has always been the best place in India. And I would really proudly say so, because Mumbai has been a city of dreams for entrepreneurs, not only for the state of Maharashtra people, but it's been the city of dreams and a whole land of opportunities for people all across the country. And that's been happening for centuries. I mean, for decades. You see how cosmopolitan Mumbai is, and over the years, the government of Maharashtra is largely focused on building infrastructure, strengthening the city of Mumbai. You have the coastal road coming up, you have the Navi Mumbai International Airport coming up, you have the metro at a very fast pace coming up as well. You have the BKC, which was developed in the last 15 years, which has become a mini industrial hub for various sectors. So I think Mumbai has a huge opportunity, and geographically speaking, yes, earlier we did have restrictions, but I think the government of Maharashtra in the last 1 or 2 decades has taken huge and good steps to ensure that ease of doing business for entrepreneurs who want to start their businesses in Mumbai is good, and we hope we can make things even better by creating not only infrastructural areas but also creating better ease of doing businesses when it comes to handling government offices, and also creating better opportunity and spaces for them. Thank you.
And our audience is definitely looking to leaders like yourself for that. Thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure having you here this evening. Out of time on today's conversation. If you have any feedback for us, do let us know. Our details on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.